pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here exclusively on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. Here's our guest menu for July 19th. John Grant, Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl and the MEAC SWAC Challenge. He'll join us in hour number 2. Second guest, Southern University wide receiver coach Quinton Burrell, wide receiver coach at Southern University, and also the great-grandson of the legendary Eddie Robinson. We'll talk about the SU receiving room and growing up, knowing that you had a great-grandfather that was a just tremendous person and a tremendous coach. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Of course, the 2025 SWAC Football Media Day is over with. We'll tell you about the predicted order of finish. Also, get you some little tidbits of, going around the room and just meeting everybody and seeing everybody for the first time in perhaps a year. And in the case with Coach Pettaway, I hadn't seen him physically in person in over 30 years, so it was good to see Coach Pettaway. Also, what's trending? News and notes from 2025 SWAC Football Media Day. So it's a lot of SWAC Football Media Day. Now, let's introduce the panel one by one. We have our super six-man. That's what I call him. Austin Clark. Hey, he's a super six-man, but he could be a starter. That's how good he is. Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you. It was great to see you in the flesh for a while. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Carlos. Good morning, panel from St. Louis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, you took off from Birmingham to your hometown.
Well, I actually went back to my home in Vicksburg. I should have took off because we had major traffic 20 minutes from the house, and I had to turn around. It was a big mess. But nonetheless, I left a couple of days ago, and here I am with doing a little family stuff this weekend. We back tomorrow, back on campus Monday, ready for some football.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
You can smell it is in the air. And good afternoon to the hardliner. AD.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Wheeler?
Yeah.
You are famous. Your name was bantered about, but I would like to say this. Black College Sports Network, this show and all the other shows, we have a nice following. And I talked to plenty of people who they just wanted to know how everyone was doing. Keep up the good work. And so, it does make you feel good that your peers, recognize you. With that being said, after our first time out, we'll probably go with the predicted order of finish. But Charles, the 2025 SWAC Media Day, it was outstanding. Got a chance to talk to AD Banks. We actually had a heart-to-heart talk. And I thought some of the AD was going to run away from me. Only really one. He shook my hand, Ashley Robinson, and he took off. He's a popular guy. He's a popular guy. And, my question was, and I couldn't get it to him in time, about the guarantee games and how long we're going to have those on the schedule. He took off. So I talked to Dr. Cable, Coach Banks, Rodney Kirshner, and those are the ADs, and also and the name escapes me right now. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna look it up. I apologize. The new athletic director at Mississippi Valley State,
Alicia Shields Gaston.
Say it again.
Shields Gaston.
One more time.
Alicia Shields
Gaston.
Yeah.
Great person. I'm pulling for her. We got a chance to interview her and Coach Buckley. I'm pulling for Mississippi Valley State, man. I'm gonna tell you, he has a plan. It's gonna be tough. He recognizes it. But anyway, we had a discussion the day before the media day Just some of the people that impressed me, talking with them. So with that being said, Charles, your thoughts on SWAC Football Media Day in Birmingham, Alabama?
Well, it was good to see you, Carlos. As always, it's good to see, all of our colleagues. We only get a chance to see them a handful of times during the sports season. So it's good to see everybody, Dr. Cavill and Charles Bishop, Black College Sports Network, everyone. Another good SWAC Football Media Day in the books. And, you got some new coaches and some new conversation. So you got some coaches that are confident. There are some coaches that are cocky, but there's some that's going to bring up conversation. And I think you had a little bit of all that. I was impressed with, first of all, I think we talked about it before we went on. The most impressive coach to me was Sam Shade. I got a chance to watch him via video and some interviews that he did, and then sitting with him in person, very, very cerebral. I think he knows what he's looking at. Very much an Alabama guy. He played at Alabama, not a rah-rah type of coach. He's just going to go roll up his sleeves and go to work. So I was really impressed with Sam Shade. Terrell Buckley, a friend of mine that I talked to on the regular, talked to Terrell Buckley, and he said, hey, this is not going to be the same old Valley, meaning that you might beat them, but you're going to be in for a dogfight. In other words, he feels like the days of the 55-7, the 68-0, like you name your score type of thing, he believes that's not going to happen. He thinks you're going to be in a dogfight. And then Tremaine Jackson, I don't know, conversation, cocky, confident. He's a little bit of all of that, kind of all over the place. But hey, it's July. We gonna know right away. They play Texas Southern, and I think if they don't get that one, then I think a lot of that conversation is going to be kind of reduced. But he did say, though, that if we don't get there, whatever that's going to be, and we know the projected order finish, that, hey, we just got to roll up our sleeves and go back to work. So I was impressed with all the coaches. It's going to be a lot of excitement, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Honestly, when I was checking into the Sheraton Birmingham Downtown Hotel, that was the guy that I was standing right on the side of him, Coach Jackson from Prairie View. Yeah, confident, a bit cocky. Yes. And I didn't know it at the time, but I spoke with Prairie View's new AD. So kind of the conversation came up like, well, who you represent? What school did you go to? I said Southern University. We'll see you at homecoming. Oh boy, why did I say that? It's no disrespect if you're the homecoming opponent. It just happened to fall on the schedule.
Absolutely,
that way.
That's right.
Yeah. So it was interesting. Austin, go ahead.
When you're dealing with Coach Tremaine Jackson, he puts you in the mindset of an old WWE wrestler by the name of Razor Ramon. He's oozing with machismo. He's that guy that when you see him, you absolutely know that when he walks in the room, that a big personality is actually going to come out. And I honestly will put this out there. I think it's good for competition. I think it makes everybody else have to step up and acknowledge the fact that we're going to come to play. And now it puts all of the marbles on the table. Nobody's out there hiding. And so when you talk about Coach Jackson and what he's looking to do at Prairie View this year, it's going to be a tall task. He's coming in, bringing in a lot of guys that he knows, but it's still guys that have to learn very quickly how to compete on this level, even though we know scholarships are the only difference between division the FCS and Division II right now. That's primarily the difference, but still getting those guys to gel and getting those guys to play up to the competition level is going to be something that they're going to have to do at Prairie View this year. And when you talk cash money, you better be able to back it up in this league. If not, people will never let you live it down. And so when you talk about Coach Sam Shade, who is just the polar opposite, I had an opportunity to listen to him talk. He's what Charles just said. He's very cerebral, very meek, very mild, very humble sounding guy. He just wants to come in and get the work done. And he's one of those type of guys that when it comes time for Coach Jackson and Coach A to play against each other, even though they have already on the Division II level, it would be amazing to see how it's going to play out in the greatest takeaway for me at media is, I'm sorry.
Oh, there you go.
The greatest takeaway for me at the conference was the fact that you had so many different outlets that had an opportunity for the Southwestern Athletic Conference to be seen. And not only that, the establishment of SWAC TV for the upcoming year, which starts in August of this year. Man, you're talking about the most excitement that I've seen around the Southwestern Athletic Conference in a long time. And I'm just ready for football to get started this year.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. A couple of announcements. That was one of them. But let me throw this out. I was looking at something. Charles, Prairie View A&M doesn't play FAMU, and they don't play Jackson State. So the path is much clearer. But as Ossie say, all games matter. But just throwing that out there. No FAMU, no Jackson State.
But I tell you, Carlos, sometimes it's better to come in the door, a little bit humble, confident but humble, and because you've just blown the expectations off the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't come in and burn it up right away, the Boo Birds are going to be out in full force, and he's going to be surprised how quickly his people, let me repeat that, his people start to turn. Not the people on the visitor side of the stadium, the people on his side of the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come in the door like that, it's good to be confident. I haven't heard much about his recruiting class and, who he's brought in and things of that nature. So, if you don't have that whipstick ready, you might be eating some crow at the end of the day.
But also, there's some talk, I guess, depending on who you're talking to. Some people, maybe some publications or some fandom has said Prairie View had the #1 recruiting class in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. That's been out there. I don't know where that came from, but he's oozing with confidence for sure. But you're right. The pathway is going to be a little bit different, and I think G Boom chimed in. We're playing. That's our first home game. Alcorn's first home game is Prairie View for high school day. It's not homecoming. Our homecoming is the following week. So our home opener is against Prairie View, and we'll see where they are as well as where the Braves are at that point in the season.
And let me bring up this point, because I did talk. I went around the room when I wasn't doing interviews on the Black College Sports Network. Yeah, Prairie View brought in a lot of FBS transfers, right? But I was talking to some of the coaches, and let's get to the crux of the matter. You know how a lot of those stars and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Willa brought it up before. You know how all of that is, it comes to the front. It depends on how many camps you go to.
Exactly.
The more camps you go to, let's just put it out there now.
Mm-hmm.
The more camps you go to, then you accumulate those stars. And so you still, and one coach, I'm not going to mention his name, said you still have to coach up those players. Because let's just be honest, a lot of those
still
players
got to play. You still got
right.
to play, Carlos. At the end of the day, you still got to play. And
Yeah.
if your stars meant all that, you would still be where you're coming from, and not moving on, trying to find some playing time somewhere else. So, I put all that in perspective.
Yes.
Until you put those pads on, ain't no stars on them pads, Carlos. So until you put them on and show me what you bringing to the table, I don't want to hear about rankings, ratings, none of that. Until you show me with the pads on what you bringing to the table.
Well, Well said. Valid points. And that was where I was going to end it with. So, it's good for conversation. It gets people excited. But at the end of the day, you've got to coach them up, and then you have to play. Now, by the same token, I could argue Southern has the toughest schedule, albeit no excuses. They've got those teams at home, Jackson State and FAMU. So, yeah, Prairie View, and I would have, they don't ask for our rankings, but I just believe that I would have put Prairie View second, albeit I would just switch them in all comp. But that's just my opinion. We'll see what people in the chat room feel. Did the coaches and administrators and SIDs, did they kind of get it right as far as the rankings? And then what I like about those rankings is for conversation piece, but then you can compare and contrast at the end of the season, because the example last year, Southern was picked fourth.
And Alcorn was picked first.
Yeah, and I get it. Southern won a lot of close games, the Cardiac Kids, but they won, doggone it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. That's why I say compare and contrast.
Yeah, I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with the rankings. I mean, you kind of knew 3 months ago that Southern was going to be picked to win the West. You knew 3 months ago Jackson was going to be picked to win the East. You already knew that. For me, my question was going to be, who's going to be picked second? In the West, I kind of figured it's either going to be Alcorn or Prairie View. In the East, I thought it was going to be either Alabama State or FAMU. I thought it was going to be that. You could make a case for either one of those teams second, whether Alabama State, FAMU, Alcorn, PVU. I kind of felt like it would probably be Alcorn because they may have gone by last year, and when what happened last year, and you go by, FAMU winning at Alabama State on their homecoming. So I mean, that's probably what they look at. But I think at the bottom, though, guys, I think you're going to have some teams that are going to be much improved. I think Bethune-Cookman, they lost 6 games. They lost 5 games by 1 score or less, including the last 3. They're going to be much improved, I believe. We know with Mississippi Valley, I don't think it's going to be the same old thing there. I think they're going to give you everything they got. And then, you got Alabama A&M. Where are they going to be picked? And then, of course, on the Western side, Coach Hampton and UAPB, they lost Higgins, they lost Giovanni Gibson. What that offense is going to look like, I think their defense is still going to be respectable. Then you got Texas Southern. I think they're going to be improved. And then, Mickey Joseph at Grambling, he's got to get off the mat. Mickey Joseph, this has got to be a big year for Grambling. And I think Ossie Clark can probably speak to that. But as a Grambling this something's got to shake here as far as Grambling football is concerned.
Well, Ossie, here we go again. As I was waiting for my car, the valet to bring the car, and I was telling Coach Banks to be safe. And who do I run into? I think his name is Mickey Joseph, Coach Joseph. Beautiful family, family. But you know what? He was still fussing like he was at the end of the Bayou Classic. He was talking about to me and my best friend. He was talking about the house settlement, and I asked where Dr. Scott was, and he said Dr. Scott was out. She loves D. I met her. I got Southern winning the West. I told you about spelling that SUDDN. Now let me get back to my story. My story. She's a beautiful person. Keep up the good work. He was talking about the house settlement, and he said they lost a lot of players. I can't remember the number, and he said Dr. Scott was out trying to handle the financial piece, because not only do you have to start paying the players, of course, now, but he said going back to 7 or 8 years back, you got to start paying with that. And so he mentioned what he had mentioned that went viral about being a training ground for our players, and they should get more. You remember that statement?
Yes, I absolutely remember that.
Yeah, and I was like, calm down, Coach Joseph. Joseph, it's going to be all right.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
when you talk about Coach Joseph and you talk about the Grambling State University Tigers for this upcoming football season, make no mistake about it, Grambling fans are definitely loyal and they are very vicious and they will give you a moment to get things together, but they're not going to settle for 2 years of absolute not winning football games, and especially not being competitive in the Southwestern Athletic Conference year in and year out. So this year, Coach Joseph is definitely looking at the bottom of the barrel of the gun, if you like to use that reference, when it comes to this upcoming season. Here's the other thing that he has to remember, that he has his kids now. So right now he cannot make the mistake of saying we don't have the pieces. Well, these are all the guys that you brought in, barring 5 or 6 guys that are on from the previous team. Everybody now, except those 5 or 6, are your guys. And so at this point for Grambling State University and Coach Joseph, he's going to have to step up and have a great year. No more of the being right there 5 overtime games with Prairie View at the 1-yard line and not being able to get the ball in at the end of the game. Fans are not going to go for that this year. And so, though competitive, that's not what they want. Grambling is not the ground that you can just say, come and be competitive. That has always been other schools. The moniker for Grambling is we win. And so that's what the fans at Grambling State University really want. Do I think Coach Joseph can get the program back to its greater days? I absolutely do. And here's one of the things that everybody's not talking about. Coach Joseph is actually going to take more control of the offense this year. He's going to be that guy, and Grambling is going to probably run the football more this year than they have in the past, which is Coach Joseph's strong point. His pass game coordinator will take care of the passing stuff, but overall, he's going to dictate and control the offense this year for the Grambling State University Tigers. So not only do you have the bullet on your head of being the head coach for Grambling, you also have the bullet on your head of actually producing points. And that's another thing that Grambling fans had a major issue with the Grambling Tigers with last year, not being able to put points on the scoreboard. So Coach Joseph is on a slippery slope, but it actually could work out in his favor if he can win the games that he's supposed to win this year.
I'll say this, okay? When you pissing and moaning about losing kids and all that sort of thing, you ain't doing nothing but setting the table for when you don't do well. You know, and I can't stand coaches that poor mouth. I ain't got no time for that. They don't need to be poor mouthing, the kids or the program or what. I ain't got this, I ain't got that. The house settlement is gonna break us all. Oh, woe is me. I ain't got no time for that nonsense. Coach, we brought your behind in here to get the job done. Let's suck it up. Let's put on our big boy panties, and let's get busy. Put that winning product out there on the field. So if I'm his AD, I'm cutting all that short. Coach, if you don't mind, I would prefer you talk about the positives of what we got moving forward. How we're going to fight like hell in order to get it done, how we feel good about XYZ, that sort of thing. Eliminate the talking about the kids that we've lost, who's not there. I ain't got no money. I ain't got no honey. Just all that nonsense. Just let it go. Just let it go.
Hey, Willa, here's me. I'm a head football coach, which not happened. Coach Brown, how do you feel about this upcoming season? I'm going to promise 2 things. We're going to show up and we're going to play hard.
Exactly.
That's it. Next question. Next question. Next question. Yeah. Here's the magic text messages coming in. Do most people know? I'll put it this way. Coach Jackson played football at Texas Southern and coached at Texas Southern. So he does have some SWAC hours. But he is still confident. Yes. He is confident. He is confident. So just want to put that out there.
And Carlos, real quick before you move on, you talked about the comment that Coach Joseph made that if the schools that are underneath Power 4 schools, actually the kids leave their program and move to the Power 4, the bigger Power 4s. Coach Joseph made that statement that that the smaller school or the smaller coaches should get paid for training guys and getting them up to that level. And you have to sit there and think, if somebody leaves Grambling and goes to Ohio State out of the transfer portal, just because they go to Ohio State doesn't mean that they're going to actually step on the field. So unless that kid is going to go there and actually step on the field, then what is your metric for wanting to get paid for doing the job that you're supposed to do anyway, which is train your guys and have them ready to play? I will never forget the athletic director many years ago at Grambling State University, Coach Bob Piper, as many people knew him as. We were sitting around outside of the athletic complex at Grambling at one time, coaches and everybody was just sitting out there. We're just having a conversation, and one of the coaches mentioned, well, when we were at this school, they gave us car and they did that. And Coach Piper looked at it and said, for what? Doing your damn job. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to win. And that's the thing that everybody should remember. You're just doing your job. If a kid decides to leave, that's on that kid. That doesn't have anything to do. You got to have the next man up and the next man ready to go. And I'm not knocking Coach Joseph's thought or statement. I'm just saying that doesn't hold water if that kid goes up, because that's 13 or 14 other kids at those Power 4 schools if they leave and go up.
Man, that's a mouthful. Also, we got a chance to, me and I believe it was Dr. Cavill, interviewed AD Banks, Coach Banks, and man, you can go and look at the clip. He brought up again about a collective, and I thought about you, like, not everybody is getting paid and paid the same on these teams, even at the big level, right? The highest level. So wouldn't it be, and I'm switching subjects here, sorry, wouldn't it be nice that everybody, no matter what student athlete, no matter what sport, women, student athletes, they all get something.
Exactly.
And you can go, and we interviewed him. You can go and look on the Black College Sports Network, SWAC Football Media Day. And he talked about that. And we'll further talk about that when he agreed to come on.
And you know, Carlos, I feel better as an athlete if my entire department is looking to take care of all of our student athletes as opposed to a select few. I feel better about the programs all the way around. You know, that's a school that I want to be a part of, that I'm going to come and spend my 4 years there, that I'm going to give back to, you know, when I graduate, that sort of thing, you know, because of the fairness thing. And so I think there's some pluses to doing that all the way around. And it's something that all of our schools should look at. If we're going to try to get ahead of this game, we need to go to that model as opposed to the other way around. And those who don't buy in, see you when I see you.
Yeah, for example, I'm just throwing out a number. Let's say 3,000 to 5,000. Now it's going to take sponsors. It's going to take money to do it. But that just stuck with me when we had him on and we interviewed him. So,
or even just cost of attendance, Carlos. Cost of attendance, because there's a formula that goes along with that. You know, and it may be different for different kids, locations, or what have you. You know, so if you go by cost of attendance, you know, you got a fair and honest procedure across the board, and let's go ahead and try to work towards that.
And also, when we go to the timeout, the pieces are in place. I put it like that, and guess where he's going to start the sport? Guess what? Men's and women's basketball. Now, that's what he said. So, but they're not gonna disclude anybody. but it's just a starting point. But I'll save that point to when Coach Banks comes on. He can explain it a much better than I can. We're gonna take a timeout. When we come back during the break, I'll peek into the chat room. Oh, okay, thank you. We're gonna look at the East and West, the predicted order of finish, and what I want you to do also is to like and share this show. Please do that. I put it in the chat room, but I'm telling you again now. And then don't forget, support all of our shows on the Black College Sports Network. We did come in the rankings #1. Yes, we did. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, support the Black College Sports Network in our 25th year. Coming up in hour number 2, John Grant, and then also Coach Quentin Burrell, Southern University wide receiver coach. We'll be back after this timeout. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
I'm returning to Clinton Parish, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Parish, we take the pain out of being hurt.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Sugar Chateau Desserts is a specialty bakery located in the Charlotte, North Carolina metro area. We will create delicious and one-of-a-kind treats for any occasion. Sugar Chateau is currently shipping cakes in a jar, offering a variety of different flavors in a single-serve container that can help you celebrate in accordance with social distancing. Place your orders today by calling 803-526-7895 or visiting sugarchateaudesserts.com.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Attention football fans. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff is back in Atlanta on August 23rd. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC Southern. Join us at Center Park Stadium for a full day of tailgating, football, and bands. For more information and tickets, visit MEACSWACchallenge.com.
I could listen to that on and on. I was I was directed the band during the break. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Charles Edmond, Ossie Clark, and Willer Brown joining us. SWAC announces a 2025 predicted order of finish. I was looking for Wheeler when that came out. I was like, man, Wheeler probably saying, let's get it on the field. Predictions. that's just for the fans. So conversation piece. But we'll put up the SWAC West, starting with there we go. Predicted order of finish. Southern University, as Charles stated earlier, I kind of knew that they were going to go with Southern, number one. Number two, I agree with Charles again. Who was going to be in the second slot? Alcorn State, 90 points. Prairie View A&M, 72. Texas Southern, Grambling State, 5th, and UAPB, 6th. Panel, I would have – I had Prairie View number 2 and Alcorn number 3, but I guess 2 and 3 – very similar, new coach. Cedric Thomas, what, Charles, in year 2, year 3?
Year 2.
Year 2. Uh-oh.
A big year 2.
A
huge year 2 coming up.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, Ossie. Coach Joseph, what, second year?
Second year.
Oh, my goodness. The 2-year contract. Now, I don't have nothing to do with that. But, your thoughts on the predicted order of finish?
Just looking at what we see that's ahead of us, I wouldn't have expected anybody to go with anything probably any different than what we're seeing right now. The only dark horse that's there that could have been in that 2-3 spot is Coach Chris Dishman in Texas Southern. I mean, he's really done an amazing job. I had an opportunity this week to talk to a couple of people from the Texas Southern camp, and they were saying what an amazing job he's doing with the program overall. And so that's that dark horse right now is the Texas Southern Tigers. Could you see them find resurgence and actually be a very good football team? That was a team that had a lot of injuries last year as well. Grambling being 5th at this particular point, nobody in Tiger land loves to see that at all. And then, of course, Coach Hampton down there at the bottom, just right now fighting for his sure life at Pine Bluff. But I will say this about Coach Hampton. He always has his guys up and ready to play. Barring a few plays here and there in a couple of games, they were right there to win some of those football games. And so where the predicted order of finish is for me is pretty much the way I would have had it. Just Texas Southern could go in either one of those 2-3 spots as well, and either one of Alcorn or Prairie View could automatically drop down.
That's interesting, Wheeler, because I did hear some conversation on the sleeper, dark horse, Texas Southern, and I talked briefly with Coach Dishman. Very quiet guy, very humble, but it'll bear watching to see what happens. Can they take down Prairie View in game 1? A lot of people are pulling for Texas Southern in that game. Just a chat around the room.
I think I would have called it the same way as the prognosticators, pretty much. Outside of Coach Graves, everybody else looking for a job. That's just me. That's just my mode. Everybody else is in the protect this house mode. Where it's time to put up or shut up, and that includes my guy at Prairie View. It's time to put up and shut up. And Coach Graves is pretty much the only proven commodity. But I would have Alcorn second, in that, in the grand scheme of things, simply because I thought they showed the most promise, pretty much as the year went on. Now they got some things that they're going to need to improve on, that sort of thing. But I would have placed them right there. You know, I think talent-wise and otherwise, that's the perfect spot for them. Prairie View, brand new coach. I don't know if I would have ranked him very high. You know, he's got to show me. You know, and I appreciate everything he's done on the D2 level and so forth and so on. But you know, you ain't in Kansas no more, Toto. You know, it's time. You know, it's time to play with the big boys. Let's see what you got. Yeah, so I think it pretty much you know came to fore as is. You know, and Texas Southern may be a dark horse, and if I'm Dishman, that's where I want to be right now, kind of flying under the radar, so to speak. And you know, maybe I can surprise a few people, that sort of thing. But Grambling folk can't be happy. They can't be happy from the top down. There's no doubt about that. You know, Joseph is really going to have to turn this thing around and turn it around quickly to pull back some of that support, you know, that he's steadily losing out on. But it is what it is. You know, it'll all be decided, Carlos, on every given Saturday, sometimes Thursday, you know, and during the course of the season. So we'll have this conversation again, you know, November or so, and you know, we'll play musical chairs again and see what's what.
If I didn't know better, I'd say, Willie, you're an old offensive tackle. Wow.
At the end of the day, Carlos, you got to put your hand in the dirt, baby.
Yeah.
Charles. I'm shaking my head for a whole nother reason. I'm looking at, and I think Ossie would agree, how people look at how the Tigers are falling.
Yes, sir.
I mean, to be picked, finish fifth, I know for Grambling Knights that's unacceptable. And hey, as a Grambling Knight myself, I'm putting my black and gold hat on. It is unacceptable. I love Mickey Joseph. You know, he was at Alcorn. That was one of Jay Hobson's first hires, was Mickey Joseph. And I asked him, what did he learn being, you know, at Alcorn? And he talked about being the professional and all that good stuff, good to his family, all that. But if this is, you know, he's got one more year left on the deal, I'm concerned about Grambling. And so that's why I'm shaking my head. Like, for the Tigers to be picked fifth, I would have just thrown it in I would have had Grambling fourth just because there were some good moments for Grambling. But to have Texas Southern over Grambling, 5 votes there, man, that just shows you what people think about Grambling right now. So as a Grambling Knight, I'm a little bit disappointed, but hey, Mickey Joseph's got to get off the mat. There's no question about it. It's, you know, and we've got Grambling coming to our place in November. I think that's the first time Alcorn has played Grambling in November. And that could be a put up or shut up situation there. So I'm not surprised. Southern #1. I think the Braves beating Prairie View last year got them to 2. Tremaine Jackson's taken over a solid Prairie View program under Bo McDowell. They were good, and Prairie View's always one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. So I'm not surprised there. But Texas Southern apparently is on the rise. But Grambling being 5th, I think that's shocking to Grambling fans. And Coach Hampton's got a lot of work to do. You know, if you look at last year, they had Hagens at quarterback, Giovanni Gibson, and I talked with Coach Hampton at Media Day. There were a couple other wide receivers he could have got on the field, couldn't. But, you know, they got some work to do on the offensive side of the ball, so I'm not surprised where UAPB is ranked. But, man, how bad have the Grambling Tigers have fallen? That's why I'm shaking my head and still shaking at the core.
Apparently, Charles, they've fallen enough for me to be on this stuff called Metoprolol. That helps keep my heart rate up.
You too, huh?
but you know, fellas, panel, again, walk in the room. And, you know, and then outside the room, there were a few fans. I remember last year, 2024, talking to some Grambling alums. They were still pissed, hot as fish grease, that, what is his name? Coach Forbes was basically ran off.
Absolutely.
And you still have that steaming, mutating, and it's still there. And then you look at the head coaches that they pick. One had NFL experience. And then here's the celebrity coaching group that's out there. They're still out there. They're simmering. Not just at Grambling, all over the place. We've had that conversation many times.
Yes.
Wasn't his name Coach Jackson?
Hugh Jackson.
Yeah, Hugh Jackson.
And now you would even think Mickey Joseph does have SWAC hours. He does. But man, they are simmering.
Carlos, that AD hot seat getting a little warm too now.
Ooh.
The AD seat getting a little warm.
Well, I wasn't going to mention that, but that was point number 2 that was on there.
Chances to get it right. You only get so many chances to get it right. At the end of the day, you got to get football right. Yeah, you got to get football right. You got to get basketball right. You can fumble with volleyball. You can fumble a little bit with baseball. You can fumble a little bit with track and field. But football, men's and women's basketball, you're only going to get so many opportunities to get it right.
So
that's just the way it is.
Yeah, the pressure is on. Now let's move to the East. Predicted order finish, and no surprise there. Jackson State number 1, FAMU number 2, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and Mississippi Valley State. Here, I think there could be some discussion, some layers to talk about. FAMU, yes. Number 2, Alabama State. Offensively, Charles, their defense has always been nasty.
Yeah.
But can they get it together on the offensive side? I think you mentioned about Andrew Body. What's the latest on him at quarterback? Is he almost 100%, or he's still working towards that?
Well, I was talking with Eddie Robinson Jr. about that at a media day, and just trying to get his temperature, because Andrew Body talked to Kyle Mosley. He interviewed with Kyle Mosley, and it sounded to me like he was still working his way back. He was, that's a long rehab, and I think they're probably going to be careful with him. But from what Eddie Robinson Jr. was talking with him, it's like, if we have him, great. But, this is a big year for Eddie Robinson Jr. too. I mean, Dr. Cable has said, steady improvement year by year. And Alabama State got it done with a 5th-string wide receiver who played quarterback last year. They got about as far as they can get with that. Their defense was championship level, number 1 in points given up, number 1 in just about every defensive category in the league last year. The defense was championship level, but you got to be able to be productive offensively. And so I think we'll see if they're going to get if they have a manageable quarterback where the body's going to be thrown in there. If he's ready to go, I think that's going to be the key for them. Florida A&M, they beat Alabama State on their homecoming last year. Again, I think that's why FAMU's picked to finish second. I think if Alabama State had won that game, I think they would have been picked to finish second. Alabama State third. We talked about them. But look at, Sam Shea didn't coach the game. And yet they're picked 4th over Bethune-Cookman. Now, I mentioned before, Bethune-Cookman had 6 games decided by 1 score, and they lost 5 of them. Had Southern on the ropes, had Jackson on the ropes. But yet you got Sam Shea coming in the side door, picked to finish 4th. That was interesting. And, Mississippi Valley, obviously they've got some work to do, but I don't have a problem with the top 3. But interesting that Alabama A&M picked over Bethune-Cookman with a first-year coach in Sam Shea.
Yeah, got a chance to talk with him. Yeah. You pull, you're pulling for everybody, because overall the league, it makes the league better. And got a chance to talk to Bethune-Cookman's coach, and he didn't know me from anybody else. I said, well, 5 overtimes. Wow. And then he immediately knew, what school I represent as far as at SWAC Football Media Day. So there's a predicted order finish. Once again, it's going to be played out week by week. What's the saying? Win the week. Win the week. You can't look too far. Week 1, you have to win week 1. Then you concentrate on week 2. Also, SWAC MEAC press conference. I got, I should say MEAC SWAC challenge. I always put the SWAC first, but M comes before S. Yesterday, the other day, I got a chance to see some of it. That's going to be a tremendous game on paper. North Carolina Central, I didn't know that they had lost some important pieces, but Coach Arbor says they're going to show up. Of course, Coach Graves, and let me say this about Coach Graves, because I know when you at SWAC Media Day and you answer a lot of the same questions, Willa. You get where I'm coming from? 40 or 50 questions. Coach Graves told me, look, that's part of coaching. I don't mind answering 100 questions. And you could tell some of the coaches were, getting a little tired. And you have to go from the main stage and then you're going all around. And it is a lot of work. And just kind of want to throw that out there.
It's media day.
Yeah.
Media day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not too much to ask for of a coach, one day out of the year, you're giving it all, from a media side of things. Let's just go out there, stay humble, put our best face forward. Don't do anything to embarrass the institution. Let's get in and let's get out and call it a day. If you're one of those humorous type guys that like to tell jokes, that sort of thing, make sure you got your array of jokes ready and, the whole 9 yards that go along with that. And, let's keep it moving. But as we all have stated, at the end of the day, you got to button up the chin strap, baby. You got to put the pads on, and so don't sell no wolf cookies you ain't prepared to, you haven't baked. If you selling somebody else's wares, you might come out on the short end of the stick on this one.
Hey, Willa, the fans do enough for that, because I'm looking at the chat room. Boy, they're going at it. And you know what? You could tell you old school, Willa, because I remember when the Media Day used to be on tour. They stopped in Baton Rouge. Remember that, Charles? And,
SWAC West tour. Yeah.
And God rest his soul, Coach Carson of Jackson State. Wow.
Big Daddy.
Yeah, him and Eddie Robinson, and then the stories they tell about Eddie Robinson going in the recruit's house and look, Mama offered him some sweet potato pie or some food, and Eddie Robinson, God rest his soul, boy, he was a showman. He go in there and he said, I had to win the parents. I had to win the parents. That's back in the day. And Carson told a joke. Well, I won't get into it because I'm gonna mess it up. But it was about Eddie Robinson, something about a kiss on the jaw. But anyway, I'll get that one together. But you remember those days? They would go to different cities. Wolf cookies.
Yeah. Well, guys, there is this thing called social media in which all this stuff you keep receipts. And so in this social media era that we're in, and I've said this, in social media, when you do well, you get uplifted with social media. But when you fall hard, the hard is harder with social media, because they're gonna bring out the receipts. They're gonna make you remember what you said. You're gonna have to eat it. And so that's where you got to be careful. You can be confident. The cockiness, I think someone chimed in, well, is Tremaine Jackson really cocky? I mean, we've used that. I mean, I just think I would use the word comfortable. I think he's comfortable with what he's saying. He's comfortable with what he's done.
I use that.
I mean, I think all the coaches are comfortable, but I think he's saying it a lot louder than probably some of the other coaches. We've had a coach in Coach Deion Sanders that was loud. Do you believe? And you saw what he did at the end of his tenure. So I think Tremaine Jackson is trying to say, hey, we're here. Don't forget about us. We're going to be right here when it's all said and done. And if not, we'll have to start over. But he's making it known right away that, hey, you're going to have to keep an eye on Prairie the whole year.
And Charles,
I say he's cocky though first.
Like that, if he would have put it as eloquent as you just put it, it wouldn't be no problem. We wouldn't be sitting here, elaborating on what he has said. Yeah, but he didn't put it together in that same vein, which is why it turns into a target that's put squarely on his back. And that's okay. He might like it like that. And that's all right. If that's what gets you off, then fine. But my thing is, at the end of the day, baby, You better bring it.
And you know, honestly, about social media, it's already, I've seen something where it's made the rounds. I think he was talking SWAC Digital Network, something to the effect about
social media coverage.
Yeah, on social media. Now, let me say this. Let me stop right there. Now, there's good and bad in everything. But now, what I love about social media, I've seen just about everybody. They're shooting them when they're coming to SWAC Football Media Day. I've seen Southern, Prairie, Alabama State. Outstanding jobs. I'm trying to get some interns at Southern. Anybody listening to help with the show? And it was beautiful. And they showed them walking around, coming out, coming down in the lobby and stuff. So there are good things and bad things that can happen with social media. Honestly, that's just like in life. You know,
it is. It's very much so like in life. And one of the things that we can take away from Coach Sanders when he was at Jackson State was he had a great social media presence. He had a great social media team. And that actually added to what was already a big personality. It added to what was going on at Jackson State. Now, here was the thing that people have to remember, and Charles just alluded to it moments ago, that the internet, social media is undefeated. So when you do not come and you do not actually live up to the billing that you're trying to establish or put out there, that they're going to hold on to those receipts and they're going to remind you of every single thing that you said that you were going to do. And if you don't do what you say that you were going to do, the internet, social media is undefeated. The great thing is for drawing people in, it is a great tool. It is a great way to communicate now. As a matter of fact, most people around today, that's the greatest way for us to stay in contact with each other by any means, is the means of social media. So if you don't have a social media presence in this day and this time, you're already at least 6 years behind, and you need to step up. Find a way to make that happen so that your program can have as many eyes on the program as humanly possible. Without that social media presence, I really don't think that you have a great chance of being able to do the recruiting that you really want to do. So I tip my hats off to those schools, especially wherever you're at this particular point, for doing such a great job with their social media campaign.
Yeah, everybody is doing a great job. Saw Mississippi Valley State, but you know, Willa, I'm still old school and I'm still a little bit of new school. It's still good to just touch somebody's hand and speak to them in person.
Definitely.
And that's what I loved about being at SWAC Football Media Day. You get to touch somebody. I got to reconnect with Coach Banks because I was saying, "Hey, where's Coach Banks? Come on the door." And you can see me in some of the pictures talking with Rodney Kirshner.
Yeah.
Oh boy, the nuggets that was dropped as far as Southern scheduling coming up. Ooh my. Charles, will Alcorn ever play at LSU?
No.
You would love it. You would be so happy.
No.
Well,
I don't think it'll go. I don't think it'll go to that level. The answer will probably be no. Now,
but you would be excited, wouldn't you?
I would be excited. I would love to see Southern play LSU again, and I would definitely try to be there because the atmosphere that I saw was off the charts. I'd love to be in Columbus. I'll see when Grambling goes to Ohio State. And
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Would love to see that. I just love to be in the stadium, take a video, take a selfie, and leave. You know, I mean, the game probably ain't gonna be much, but I would just like to be on the field, just to be in that environment, just that.
Hey, you just wish for something. Southern playing LSU again.
Whoa!
Look at my face. But anyway, and last but not least. You talk about your brand and negotiating. Remember how we talk about, well, and I know I come across arrogant. Southern Wheeler, you always mention about the largest budget. I don't know what that means, but
18 million is 18 million, Carlos.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying.
all right. But I'm learning more and more. It's how much you value yourself and your brand when you start negotiating these contracts. Now, Charles, me and you always kind of have this discussion about, well, Alcorn gets 400 to 500,000. Then I come back, well, Southern's going to get more than that. It's how you negotiate. And so it's going to be interesting in the upcoming years to see some firsts as far as scheduling. Yeah. And I'll just leave it at that, Austin. I see Austin looking like, what is he talking about? It's scheduling. Don't short yourselves. Dr. Cable, Ashley, all of them. Look, can we see Jackson State playing? They playing Mississippi State and Southern Miss. Could they see who will be the first to play Alabama? The Alabama. I mean, Alabama and them. Hey, if you go play Ohio State and you get $1 million, Willa, help me out. Alabama, you bring back more money because you don't have to travel as far. And Alabama and them has played Auburn, so
that makes sense. I could see those in-state matchups, just like Jackson State USM. I could see that. We've played USM. I think we're playing them next year. I could see that. I mean, it's in-state. Keep the money in state. You hear coaches talk about it in states all the time. It's worthwhile. If Southern and LSU get back together, I think that makes perfect sense. And I think you've even heard some of the FBS coaches when they talk about these in-state games. It's good to keep the money in state. So I think you might see some more of that. And I think that's a good thing.
Well,
and you still want to get paid,
yes,
as much as possible. But at the same time, that you're not going to get as much as you would if you was flying halfway across the country or something to that effect. So, you just be prepared for that, to take a little less than you would if you were going out west. But at the same time, you don't have the expenses of having to go all the way out west. You're talking about bus rides as opposed to, flying, that sort of thing. And so it pays to try to do that in state. If you got a Power 4 in your state, it pays to be able to do that in state as opposed to going halfway around the world.
Well, speaking of taking less, guys, Grambling, Ohio State. I don't know, Austin, if you know this, but Grambling's taken less than the previous opponent that Ohio State had on the schedule. Ohio State was supposed to play, I think, UConn.
UConn. It was UConn. I think it was UConn.
$1.9 million is what Ohio State was going to pay UConn, and things didn't work out. So they're paying Grambling $1 million. So you're saying just contract for contract. Grambling could say, well, you paid UConn 1.9, you're only paying us $1. What's up with that? But you're not going to turn down $1 million payday. In this landscape, considering FBS, FCS. I mean, that's something that doesn't happen.
That's the big thing. Connecticut, albeit a struggle, they're FBS opponents, so they're gonna get more. We're gonna take a timeout. We're gonna check and see if our first guest is ready. John Grant, Executive Director of the Celebration Bowl and the MEAC SWAC Challenge. And I will say this: me and Dr. Cable had an interesting conversation. Not about football guarantees, but basketball guarantees. That is still a kind of a touchy subject. And so, Charles, it's I talked to Banks about that too. Put it this way, I'm going to still talk about it. It's still my opinion. I'm still in favor of not having that many guaranteed games. And if I'm the last man on earth saying it, I'm going to say it. And Dr. Cable was like, we would like to get to where I'm saying, but they're not there yet. But again, the question I asked was, what was the backup plan? Then it got a little testy there. But then anyway.
I'm going to give you some breaking news, Carlos. I talked with our AD at Media Day, and we were just talking about basketball guarantees. He said on the record this year, Alcorn's going to make $1 million in guarantees for their basketball schedule.
Woo.
Wow.
0-12.
I'm impressed.
I didn't ask for it. I didn't ask for that. He just kind of laid it out there on a platter. And, you know, he had said he didn't give me a number at first because we talked about it a few weeks ago. He said at least over 700,000, but he said over $1 million. So you just take that for whatever it is.
Well, you got a coach that's glad to get his first head coaching opportunity. Yeah, so I would expect that, you know, wasn't any kickback on that, you know, because he's just grateful to get that opportunity, that sort of thing. So
Can I find
I don't know. Once he's been through the gauntlet, he may feel differently. He may not, but we'll see.
Can I find an AD who will agree with me? I don't think I will. I say I'm the lone wolf in the desert. I got willing to say at least in moderation. In moderation.
I'm okay with that. In moderation. You know, I like I said, I ain't gonna bust you up and, you know, make you do 10, 11 and all that sort of thing and stuff. No, I'm not gonna do that. You know, I'm gonna give you some opportunities to schedule a win, to try to let the kids experience some success prior to the conference season. Yeah, I understand all that, and most ADs who's been coaches understand that also. Yeah. So, I mean, it is what it is on that one, but, you know, for me to cut it out in its entirety, you know, with all these things that are coming up right now, NIL, NFL, you know, ILL, you know, all that sort of thing, you know, just not be able to do so. Can't do it.
Well, I would say, hopefully, some of that money will find its way into basketball. I'll put a button right there. Up next, John Grant. He's waiting. You're watching the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return.
Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern, Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEACSWACChallenge.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We will now go to our special guest, John Grant, Executive Director of the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl. John, good afternoon, sir. You might.
Okay, so good. Sorry about that. Good afternoon. Thank you guys for having me here today.
Good afternoon.
It was a pleasure having you. Oh, and look, seeing him at the SWAC Football Media Day, looks in outstanding shape. Looks like he can still contribute to an athletic event.
Well, it's good to look that way because I can tell you facts don't support that today. Sure.
Yeah, John, you've been really busy. You know, I see you every year at SWAC Football Media Day, and then the MEAC SWAC Challenge Press Conference. You were in Birmingham, then back to Atlanta. Let's just talk about the MEAC SWAC Challenge 20th anniversary. It has been really a good event, but a lot of hard work, I'm sure.
It has. You know, we are certainly delighted to have an event that's lasted 20 years, and excited really also to be able to celebrate that this year with two outstanding programs. We're fortunate to be able to have those at this point. We scheduled this game, I think, back in 2021. And so now to have both of these programs led by outstanding coaches to meet here in Atlanta to open the 2025 college football season is certainly remarkable, and it will be exciting for fans.
John, what did you kind of get from the press conference? I know you're part of it, but tell us about the temperature in the room.
You know, it's always enjoyable. I want to, have to give a shout out to Commissioner McClellan and his team for, what they do to really provide a great setup for that. It was really great to hear the announcement about SWAC TV. I think that's certainly going to be a game changer in the HBCU football space in terms of content delivery and the amount of content that they're going to be able to deliver for the SWAC. And hopefully it sets a tone for some of the other HBCU conferences to try to follow. Certainly we have a lot of content to deliver, and that was outstanding. But as far as the temperature in the room, this year felt a little different. I think it felt a little different because, your most tenured coach in the SWAC now is Eddie Robb over at Alabama State. And so, and when you're tenured at 4 years, you're the elder statesman with 4 years tenure. It certainly, I think, speaks volumes to the expectations now that the member institutions have about winning, and so you don't get the passes that one used to get. Where if you win your rivalry game, you could be safe for a year. Now you have, the expectation is that you win the rivalry game because that's on the road to a bigger destination. So, there's a lot of energy, really like that. So, certainly all the media that was there always speaks well to the conference and the interest in the conference. But I just felt that, you had a lot of new faces in the room and a lot of coaches still trying to establish themselves.
And what's interesting, John, in the panel, Coach Oliver I got a chance to know him a little bit, being on the staff at Southern University. So him and Coach Graves know each other very well. So I know the temperature in the room, they're nice and they know each other, but I'm willing to bet when it's game time, it's going to be a friendly affair, but tough.
Well, that came across. We know that both of those guys are very intense. Both of them have a strong desire to win, and I think no question about it. Both of them coming into this year's game want to come out of there 1-0. No one wants to leave 0-1, and they each of them. You're right. Spoke respectively of each other. If you watch the press conference, but we also both know that they are fierce competitors, and so that came across as well.
Yes, we're visiting with Charles, and if you jump right in if you got some questions, and Willa Brown, John Grant, Executive Director of the Cricket Celebration Bowl and the MEAC SWAC Challenge. John, I always want to put SWAC before MEAC, but M comes before S.
Thank you, because we do run across that most of the time when we're in SWAC territory. But certainly we understand and respect that. But I appreciate you calling the event what it is: the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff.
Well, that's a good question. All right, so MEAC SWAC MEAC. I made that mistake myself. I was correct.
I have to. Yeah.
How is it determined that MEAC SWAC MEAC? How did that come about, MEAC SWAC, and that's kind of what it is?
That was before my time. Okay. So I really don't know the answer to that. I will just surmise because it's alphabetical. And normally you list things as we're taught in alphabetical order, but I would just assume that that's why it was mentioned that way.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be competition, but also talk about the events coming up until the football game itself.
Well, we have a full slate of activities that are happening that week. And we do things both around the game for fans, but also we make sure we're doing things in the community. So on Thursday, we have what we call our Beyond the Field community event, which is a high school seminar where we bring in some of our corporate partners. We deal with high school juniors and seniors, and we're going this year to New Manchester High School, which is out in Douglasville. We generally have somewhere around 400 to 500 students that are participating, and we go through sessions with them. They'll deal with things on sponsors. Will deal with things like how to manage your social media. We have financial education. One of our partners with us is the U.S. Army. We have Microsoft. All of them are talking about focusing them on things like that and career opportunities. Thursday night, we have a partnership with the Braves and the Atlanta HBCU Alumni Alliance, which is HBCU Night at the Braves. They threw a huge party at the Roxy out there pregame, and then certainly fans have an opportunity to go into the game, to the Braves game on Thursday night. On Friday, Southern University is having a huge golf tournament, the Alumni Association, to raise scholarship money, as you would imagine, for the university. The Eagles are having one as well, so we're helping them promote both of those golf tournaments. We do have an invitation event on Friday night for our sponsors and VIP guests. And then Saturday pregame, there is our fan experience, which is one we call it a tailgate. But our fan experience starts at 3:00. It goes until 7. Food, music, a lot of activities that are taking place. That'll be the first showing of the bands, because the bands do a jamboree in that fan experience. They meet head to head before pregame, before going into the game. Carlos, I do want to advise Southern fans, we do have tailgating spots. We open up tailgating spots because I know you guys roll deep when it comes to tailgating. So there are tailgating spots there. Let me announce that they can check in as early as noon on Friday and then check out noon on Sunday. So plenty of parking there. You can go to our website for more information at meacswacchallenge.com for information, for tailgating slots, for parking, and tickets.
Oh, that's big. You're absolutely right. And then in Atlanta, you have so many HBCU alums, and I'm sure you're trying to pull them in as well. Because Celebration Bowl, when I'm there, look, I'm talking with everybody, different alums. We're having a good time, and of course, I can say this: I'm pulling for the SWAC there, John, in those games. I know you have to be objective.
I do. People ask me that a lot. Who do you want to win? The champion. Or who do you want to come out of the conferences? I want the champion. That represents the best team that year to come in to compete for the championship. And more importantly, Carlos and guys, that game is our Super Bowl. This game coming up is in essence us opening all of college football. A total of 7 games played on the Saturday of week 0. 7 games. For the last 2 years, the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff has been the second most watched game in week 0.
That's outstanding.
And the most watched game in 2023 was Notre Dame and Air Force in Ireland. Last year's most watched game was Georgia Tech and Florida State in Ireland. So that makes the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge the most watched game out of all 7 games played on that day, played in the United States.
Wow, that's outstanding.
So to think about that our HBCUs primetime Saturday at 7:30 p.m. on ABC. We are leading the nation on the ground in terms of fan viewership for this game, and we set a record viewership last year. We broke the record from 2023, which was a record then, and that last year was a record. And we're hopeful to break that record with another viewership increase.
Yes, that's outstanding. Visiting with John Grant, Executive Director of the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl. John, future schedules. Can we have any breaking news? If not, but the future schedules, because it's always interesting. Southern and North Carolina Central this year, and I think the last time we talked to you, you mentioned, I want to say it was breaking Alcorn was going to participate, but since that time, what else can you tell us?
Well, we have our schedules out up through 2028. I'm working on 29 right now, and those are listed on our website. But next year, Alabama A&M will be taking on Howard.
Yes.
And then the following year, we got Alabama State will be playing South Carolina State.
Okay.
And then in year after that, we got Jackson State against Norfolk State. So, and then we're working on the following year right now. We'll tell you that we are having some conversations that might make Charles smile, but I won't break that right now. We will we'll announce that when we get that complete.
Well, Charles, I thought I don't know why I thought Alcorn was playing a little bit before then, but now it makes sense. I think that's what he meant the last time we talked to him about Alcorn State. And boy, I wonder who the opponent would be. Interesting, Charles. Interesting, yeah.
Well, I got another question for Mr. Grant, and I think we kind of talked about it when we talked one-on-one. I mean, as you know, the landscape is changing. The networks are doing their thing. The college football playoffs probably going to expand to 16 teams. That's gonna tighten up the TV schedule. What do you see down the road? You talked about the 20th anniversary. You talked about the ratings numbers, and it's all about the eyeballs. That's what keeps these games on television, and that's what keeps the $1 million coming in for the Celebration Bowl. Do you foresee any kinks, any hiccups, any challenges here as we expand to 16 teams? What does that mean for the MEAC SWAC? What does it mean for Celebration? I know you're fighting every year to kind of keep those slots. Do you think it's going to be even more of a challenge going forward as this college football playoff landscape is changing?
Well, right now we don't know. They haven't made a decision yet. Right now you're still at 12 teams.
Right.
And if anyone's been following it, there's some differences in opinion on what the makeup of those that are in the playoffs should be. You know, the Big Ten wants, you know, automatic qualifiers for them in the SEC, and you know, everyone else wants a, you know, 4 each, and everyone else wants a 5 and 1, meaning you know, you get the 5 best conference champions, and then the you know, the one would be whether it's Notre Dame or one group of 5 college, and then you have the others being selected by the committee. If the expansion occurs, you know, we really don't know whether they'll encroach up into, but you know, there are a lot of scenarios been tossed around. There's scenarios being tossed around that you know, that could mean that the championship games, rather than being the first Saturday in December, they may move up a week and be played at Thanksgiving. You know, where now you have Thanksgiving as rivalry weekend. All of that's a possibility to change. Those are things that are being thrown out. If that occurs, then of course, you know, we don't know what the scenario, you know, could be, and that's one of the options if they go to 16. We know this year probably they're going to stay at 12 if they don't come to some kind of decision. More than likely they could get to 14. 16 is out there, but I think there are a lot of things that have to be solved within their own organizations in terms of what the makeup of those going into the playoff will be.
Wow, John, I guess you always have to be flexible, you know, as far as even with the Celebration Bowl. The last time you were on, you were explaining about how the move that you guys made, and I agree with it, that helped keep the Celebration Bowl relevant. So it's going to be interesting, but I have faith that you guys will be flexible. Whatever needs to be done, you're going to get it done.
Well, you know, we got to make sure we're working to protect the enterprise, which is what I shared with you all before. This game has to be first. If we're not first in the bowl series, then that's a difficult road to hoe. I think we may have some safety, maybe, hopefully, because we're on the same day as Army Navy, and you know, the playoffs. Nor do we want to get in a position where we're having games on that are at the exact same time as the Army Navy game. So the fact is, we're leading into Army Navy, and I would say with that, they had a record viewership last year with the Army Navy game. Not going to say it's all because of that we were there, but anytime you have a football game leading in, that brings you an audience that maybe otherwise wouldn't have watched, and especially a game like what we have as a championship game.
Well, one quick question. I think you brought up about the Celebration Bowl, the 2-week period or the week period between the SWAC championship and Celebration. You and I talked about that the other day, and I asked you, do you foresee that 2-week window reopening between SWAC championship and Celebration Bowl? Do you see that 2-week window coming back open again, or are we kind of stuck with the week between Celebration Bowl and SWAC championship?
Well, I don't think the week is necessary. The 2 weeks are necessary. You know, I know there was a lot of consternation in SWAC Nation about, well, you know, at least among fans and maybe some coaches in other places. But when I talked to coaches when we were looking at making this change, I did not get a coach, not one, who told me, you know, we need the time. Every coach I talked to said, you know, let's you know, put the peg down and let's kick the football, let's play. And so for the last 2 years, it didn't seem to make a difference, not to the SWAC. And so I think that, you know, the discussions about, well, the MEAC has an advantage because the SWAC had less time to prepare was really more the SWAC just needed to play better football, and they're doing that now. I mean, they've upped the game. The coaching is different. How they're approaching this. So sometimes it hurts you to have a break. And Jackson State proved last year, without question, that they came ready, and TC Taylor had his team ready to play football, and it showed.
As Willow would say,
Yeah.
put on the big boy pants and line up.
That's it.
Thought about Wheeler when he said that, Carlos. The Wheeler Brown's face popped into my head when John Grant answered that question. Hey, it don't matter if it's 2 days or 2 weeks. Lace them up. Let's go.
Let's go. And I think most coaches would rather go ahead and play. Keep the continuity going, that sort of thing. And, you have the kids' attention, because you're getting right back at it, that sort of thing. And so, I don't know that a break is all that healthy or all that it's cracked up to be.
And let me add this, because I talked to coaches on the MEAC side as well. They were excited about having it moved up a week because they didn't have so much time. You had coaches. I talked to Rod Broadway. I talked to Willie Simmons. Obviously, he was with the SWAC at the time. But talked to all these guys who said, "Look, the more time you have, the more difficult it is to keep focused, keep their attention. You can't practice them for 3 weeks. So it was. I think that, like you said, the less time for coaches, the less time, the better.
Well, I see in the chat room, and I have my iPhone. I get text messages during the show. They said, remind everybody in the MEAC SWAC Challenge, somebody's undefeated, and that's Southern University. But they're gonna have it's gonna be a tough game. Southern North Carolina Central University. John, in our closing, do you want to what would you like to tell members of the SWAC Nation, Jaguar Nation, and HBCU Nation?
There are two things. I want another announcement I'd like to make. First is we do want to announce that we do have another championship, which is our Band of the Year. National championship for HBCU marching band, and Red Lobster, who came on kind of toward the end last year to be the title sponsor of the 2024, has signed a multi-year agreement to be the title sponsor of the Red Lobster Band of the Year.
Okay,
that is a huge platform for our HBCU community. Everyone loves their marching bands, but what more importantly is now giving marching bands in the Division I and Division II conferences, because it's conference neutral. You want to with the rankings, you want to get to the top 2 in each division for the end of the season to compete for the championship, and we have a pretty significant payout that goes to each of the schools in the 6 figures. If you make it there, you get the money. But now when you're there, just like with a bowl game, everyone gets the same amount, but you're playing for a national championship. So with Red Lobster signing on, ESPN is doubling down on the commitment for it. And the fact that we're going to use the Jaguars have been in the running. I talked to Dr. Taylor a couple of weeks ago. They've been in the hunt, tweaking some things a little bit here and there. But the idea that we have that, and to see last year, the SWAC won it last year with Florida A&M, and to see those kids get championship rings, just like the football players get championship rings, just bodes well for another offering that we have in the HBCU community that does not exist. So want to announce that and tell everybody to go out and make sure you get that new boil at Red Lobster, because I've had it. It's outstanding. If you haven't been there to try it, it's outstanding. But I always say we support the companies that support us, and obviously they are leaning in, not just with their support here, but leaning in to really try and make sure they're creating a restaurant experience that is congruent with us and what we like.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So, with that being said, I will tell fans, let me speak specifically to Southern University fans and SWAC fans, because I know they're listening. We're sitting on a gold mine with the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Celebration Bowl. Those are the two, by far, the two biggest properties when you think of total live audience. And that's what we have to measure things by today. Attendance is great, but attendance doesn't give you the scale. There's no way it can give you the scale. For instance, you got to have viewership. Everyone else is playing that game, and everyone else talks about that game. Meaning, in the Power Five, why they're getting the money that they get is because they have eyeballs. And as we continue to grow our experience, we got to grow our viewership. The money is in that. The more viewers you get, the more money you can command from networks, because that's how they approach advertisers. More viewership, more advertising dollars that they can charge to advertisers. You got small viewership, you can't expect a lot of money to be paid to you when you aren't bringing the audience that the networks need to monetize the investment that they're making. So we have been able to collectively, not just us, but all of you, because you guys are keeping the word out there. And fans, if you can't make the game, tune into the game. That's what we have to have. And if you don't have time to watch it, bring it up on your phone. Turn it on your TV. If you got to run an errand, leave your TV on. And if you come into the game, turn your TV on anyway. Even if you're in Atlanta, time it to come on, because all of those numbers are what help this event and any televised event. If for the SWAC TV to be successful, it's not going to be successful if people don't watch. That's the bottom line. And oftentimes, the guys, my final word, when I'm at the game, I'm also streaming the game on my phone because I want to see it live, but I also want to get the experience of what the commentators are saying and how the game is being presented. So there's a double number. They're getting a number from my presence, but they also get a number from me streaming it and watching it. And I'll tell you, it's a great experience if you guys have done that. You're at a game and you're watching it at the same time. It matters. So for fans, please make sure you turn in. Make sure you tune in. Make sure if you have an opportunity to come. MEAC SWAC Challenge, I expect no one to be in Baton Rouge except the people over at LSU. And I expect them to be watching because there's nothing else for them to do. They need to be watching, but everyone associated with Southern University should be no one on campus but the police. Be mad because they can't come.
I think they will represent well, Mr. Grant.
That's what we will say. Finally, to you guys, I want to say again, thank you to you, because you and other media, BCSN and other Black media that talks about and promotes us. You're the ones that keep the light on. You had the lights on when no one was looking in the beginning. No one was paying attention. And as we were trying to grow this thing, you were the ones that talked about it. Many of you I called and talked to, about what can we do to help, etc. And you were there for us, and we will never forget that. And so my loyalty is to you. If we're going to be breaking news, we're breaking it with you. And thank you for doing that, and thank you for keeping the lights on for us now. When we're trying to determine which way we're going to go, we can always listen. I listen to you guys a lot.
Thank you.
And I read the comments and listen to your fans because these are experiences for them. These games are for them. That's what we're in the business of, and we value that because without the fans, you have nothing. And so
right.
I'll leave it with this, my final comments. We have three things that we try to do. One, we want to create a world-class, second-to-none experience for our student athletes. That no matter what and where they go, that no one, I'm not saying we're better than anyone, but no one puts on anything better than we do. Number two, we want that same world-class, second-to-none experience for the fans. If that fan chooses to spend their time and their money to come and be with us, then we want to make sure that experience is as good as anywhere they go. And number three, the same thing, second to none experience for the fans who watch. Because if you take the time to sit down and watch the product that we put on the field, that's why we want to make sure we always have the best product on the field for the kickoff game, and we know we got good product this year. Because right now Southern owes North Carolina Central one. 2006, they came down to the Bluff.
Oh, I remember that.
And took one, And so they've only had one matchup ever. And so this is matchup number 2. So, I understand Southern is 3-0 in the MEAC SWAC Challenge, but they're 0-1 against North Carolina Central.
Yeah, John Grant. I knew that was coming. I think it was a guy named Coach Broadway.
So thank you for that, and I appreciate you guys having me here today.
We appreciate you. We look forward to talking with you again real soon and see you. Have a great rest of your weekend and get you some rest if that can be done. All right. Thanks a lot. That was John Grant. Here on the Carlos Brown Show, 12:43. Let's do this. Coach Burrell has been holding patiently, so I'm not going to take a break, and we'll bring him up right now. Coach Burrell. Coach Burrell, it's good afternoon in Baton Rouge. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Of course, you saw we had John Grant on, and we appreciate you holding on with us. Going to talk a couple of things. Everybody's excited. The season is right around the corner. We get a lot of questions, at least I do, specifically, how is the wide receiver room? So if you can talk about that first, and then we'll talk about somebody that you knew very well that was legendary.
Okay. Well, of course, I'm really excited about this year's receiver core. I lost a really good one last year in Chandler Whitfield, who was, in my opinion, an excellent person, not only on the field but off the field as well. But I think he left behind some good things for our guys to kind of piggyback on and continue to improve on. But just specifically for our 25 core, I think some guys that's going to step up, that's going to surprise a lot of guys in this conference. But we also have some veteran guys who matured leaps and bounds, such as a Darren Morris, who I'm expecting some big things out of this year. So really excited, man. We start training camp next week. So, like you said, the season is here. The season is here.
Sir. Yes, sir. And some of the things I've talked to some of the receiver coaches over the years, again, from a non-football coaching perspective, but one of the things they talk about, the complete package of a receiver. The fans see the big plays, the slants and stuff. But it was interesting in Birmingham, the conversations about receivers doing that, but also blocking downfield and how they can impact plays, particularly even in the running back situation. Talk a little bit about that as far as being part of the complete package for a receiver.
Well, for me personally, I'm a former defensive back, and being a former defensive back, you always kind of look at receivers as, kind of as prima donnas, or they kind of want to big boys and things of that nature. So I always told myself that, if I was ever, fortunate enough to coach on the offensive side of the ball, like, my guys are gonna be tough. We're gonna be blue collar, and I got a saying that I tell my kids, if you don't block it, you don't touch the rock. So that's just something that, to me, that's a standard that to me, a good receiver coach should hold their guys, as far as it's not just about catching. You can make an impact on the field, blocking down the field, even opening up certain concepts for the guy that's designated to get the ball. So to me, you got to have a total package to be a complete wide receiver.
Will, I know you just love that, huh?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. No doubt.
Yeah, because you think about it, it's the glory and stuff. But man, over the years, I've seen some outstanding receivers that could help blocking down the field. Now, Coach Burrell, when I was looking at your bio, Notre Dame, right?
Yes, sir.
In college. Sir. Man, how? Tell us about that. How did you get there?
Well, I was fortunate enough to be a quote unquote, I guess now they call him 4- or 5-star athlete when I was coming out of high school. So I had quite a few big offers, and I ended up settling with Notre Dame because I wanted to kind of experience something. I was always an out the box type kid. I went to high school in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm originally from Grambling, Louisiana, but just being recruited I was recruited by LSU, Alabama, kind of the who's who. But I wanted to, like I said, experience something different and new. And I felt that I would be able to grow the most if I, went to the Midwest and, actually go to Notre Dame. Education was real big for my family. So, it was kind of, I went home, prayed about it. And, I tell all the people, everybody like, man, why you go to Notre Dame? I said, God did, So, it was one of those deals where I leaned on him heavily along with my family and, ended up spending 4 years at the University of Notre Dame.
Whew, boy, the contrast in weather compared to now. You're getting ready to go to the fall camp, and man, I see those coaches. Look, they're moving, they're exercising, they're sweating just like the players. So Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Then how about getting into coaching? That was something that you wanted to do. You knew you were going to do it.
Yes, absolutely. It was kind of, once I was done playing, I was in camp with the Buccaneers, got released, and it was kind of one of those moments where it's like, man, what direction do I want to go? My family has a history and a background of being educators and coaches. So I actually went back to my high school and talked to my high school coach. So he kind of, pointed me in the right direction. So I actually ended up coaching high school ball for 9 years. Coached high school ball for 9 years, continued to move up the ranks. And I honestly thought that was going to be my calling, where I was going to make my footprint as just being a successful high school coach. But I got a call and an opportunity in 2016 to go to Grambling State University. And once I got that opportunity, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer for me to, pursue that, based on, who my lineage is from. So I was fortunate enough to be at Grambling State University from 26 to 21. And then, like I said, got an opportunity in 23 to come to Southern University. And, I've been fortunate enough to be down here ever since.
2016, was that Coach Forbes?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, wow.
That's actually the year that we won it all in 16.
Yeah. His name came up on the show earlier with the alumni and Grambling alumni, Southern alumni. It's very interesting. Now,
he's a great person. Great.
Oh yeah.
Yes, yeah. Great family.
Yes,
sir.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of family, that leads me into growing up. I got a chance to meet Coach Rob and his dear, sweet wife in Atlanta. I didn't know he was that tall.
Yes.
Maybe I'm that short, but just seeing him and man, his wife, what a treasure. But how was that growing up?
You know what?
A legendary guy like that.
I tell people all the time, like, just when I was younger, I didn't look at my great grandfather as this big giant figure. I just looked at him as my papa, and same thing with my grandmother. I knew he was a coach, but I didn't know how much of an impact he had made and was making at the time. I just knew that, I come, I go over their house, or I come to practice. I'm the little boy running around, kind of throwing the football with some of the players. And, I'm just enjoying that, not knowing that I was amongst giants at the time. I really didn't realize it until I got actually into the college coaching realm, how much of an impact and a difference that, my great grandfather made, not only amongst the black colleges, but amongst everything in general, So, it's something now that I'm cherishing because I hear the stories, but when you're living in that moment, I was just looking at him as my papa,
Yeah, yes, sir. I understand that. I mean, I was overwhelmed when I met him in Atlanta, and just seeing him, this great figure, and then some of the stories that we were told about, writing a newspaper article, doing the lines on the field, cutting the grass, all of those things. And the main thing too was ringing the bell, coming in the dorms to get the kids up to go to class. Man,
I was with him actually 2 times when he was doing that. That was real big for him as far as the guys starting off their day the right way. And he would ring that bell. You had to open up the door, and he had to see that your feet hit the ground. Then, once your feet hit the ground, you had to get your meal card, and he had to see you go through the cafeteria with your meal card, because he felt breakfast was the most important meal of the day. But it also, gave him eyes to see, like, okay, they're up, they might as well up now. They got to go to class. So that was real big for him. And I was able to, see and do that with him a couple times. So.
Man, I just wonder if, they say the spirit never dies, and I do believe that, and you can still see his presence and touch. I wonder how he would feel right now with college athletics so ever changing.
Yes,
The
yes.
money involved. I wonder what he would say or how he would feel.
Man, I wonder the same thing, but he, now that I look back on it, man, my great grandfather was way ahead of his time. I don't know if you saw he went to Congress, I want to say in the 80s, and he predicted something like this would happen in the 80s.
Wow.
Especially from a FCS and HBCU standpoint, and he spoke to Congress about kind of getting some guardrails in, because he predicted this might happen in the future. It's on C-SPAN, I believe. I think you can look it up. He did it in the 80s. I want to say the mid to late 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And he spoke to Congress for, I want to say, a couple of hours about it, about the dangers that he felt that might occur later on down the realm. And, here we are now, and it's here.
And it's so interesting. You're absolutely right. And then, did he have a chance? I think I read having a coaching career in the NFL, but he turned it down.
Yes, he did.
Is that true? Yeah.
Yes, that's accurate. Yes, that's accurate. He was he fell in love with Grambling, but he had some other opportunities as well. But he ultimately decided to stay at Grambling, especially when they was rolling in the 60s and 70s. He was getting a lot of opportunities, but he ultimately ended up staying at Grambling.
Charles, that is interesting because also, I don't know if some people know this. It was a university, black university, right outside of Baker, Leland College.
Yep.
And Coach Rob went there, I believe, graduated. And the biggest question, like Doug Williams one time, it was like, fans down here, how did he get away? It grew up in right? Baton Rouge?
Yeah,
Baton Rouge.
He went originally from Jackson, Louisiana, and then I think they moved to Baton Rouge to where he finished at McKinley High School.
Yeah.
So he's a Baton Rouge guy. Yeah, he's a ultimately a Baton Rouge guy, and it's like I said, it's been pretty cool being in Baton Rouge now, because I've been able to see some family that I haven't seen since I was maybe 6 or 7 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool deal just to kind of get reconnected with them. But also, like I said, yeah, he's originally from the Baton Rouge area, and like I said, I actually pass by Leland College often because I go to church at right down the street from over there off Groom Road at Rose Hill. So I pass by it all the time, and it's kind of nostalgic because like, man, my great grandfather went there, and it's like, wow, it's something that you take for granted, But now that I'm older, it's like I'm always I stop sometime and just sit there and just watch and look and take pictures and everything. So that's why I say I know I'm getting older because I'm taking pictures and everything like my mom.
Oh, well, that's all right. Hey, you get older. That's in a way a good thing. And I just wish I used to do a radio show locally. Southern Nights, remember, and we had your great grandfather on, and we always taped the show. We didn't tape the show that episode when he came on, but he was talking about the relationship with A.W. Mumford, and Coach Robinson said that was one of the guys who took it to him early on. But man, I wish that tape could be archived.
Yeah,
and we didn't get a chance. We're talking with Coach Quentin Burrell, wide receiver coach at Southern University, and talking about his great grandfather and his college days. Competitive this upcoming fall camp. Do the coaches kind of go at it? So you're the coach that you would go at is a position coach. Who is that for the audience?
Oh, well, I like to go at all the defense, to be honest with you, because I like I like to be the tone setter. So I tell my receivers, we gotta set the tone right off the bat and be consistent at it, because at the end of the day, irons gonna sharpen irons, and that's how we're all gonna be. We're gonna get better. We just got to continue on having that competitive edge. And just, like I said, we have to set the tone. And then it's going to be certain days where some other groups might set the tone, will try to set the tone, but we have to respond in the right way, but also take care of each other as well, too, because, at the end of the day, we do have a game in about a month. So, it's kind of, you got to teeter that edge of being very, very competitive, but also this is my teammate, and I got to be smart as well, because we got to, like Coach Graves always say, we got to get to Saturday. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it is the brotherhood. And as I'm listening to you now, I would be remiss if I don't just think about this guy when he played at Southern University. I remember a couple of practice before the first game of the season. Coach Richardson wasn't happy at all. And this person had a players only meeting, Coach Sean Wallace.
Coach Wallace, yes, sir.
And man, let me tell you, boy, I'm gonna miss him because I'm sitting up in the press area, and the coach's box is right there between him and Coach Frederick. Man, I know my hearing is good.
They get a little animated, man. Gonna miss Coach Wallace a ton, because he was one of those coaches that me and him would go at it. You know what I mean? And it was all in good fun, because we knew that sometimes you got to get your guys going. And how Coach Wallace was as a player, he was just like that as a coach as well. So like I said, we're gonna be very missed, but we also got something to play for because of him, because it's not just about us. It's about him too, and the legacy that he left.
Yes, sir. Well, I want to thank you, Coach Burrell, for coming on. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I know a lot of the coaches have been getting their vacations in, because now, as the former band director would say, it's wartime.
Yes,
and not in the sense of a physical war, but you know what I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
So, we appreciate the time, and as always, go Jags.
Go Jags.
All righty. That was Coach Quentin Burrell. That's perfect. 12:59 quickly, Charles, because Melanie will be having out that huge switch that comes from Georgia.
Oh yeah, football season is here, guys. Looking forward to it. Camp's getting ready to get underway. Let's get to it.
Like and share, Willa. Tell them like and share.
Like and share, everybody. Like and share. Let's get on it.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody in the chat room. Oh boy, quickly, and we'll get more into it next week. The new SWAC TV deal, but Mo Carter, a Southern alum, will be calling the first game on the new SWAC TV platform against Mississippi Valley State. Coach Buckley says, "Come on, we're gonna be ready." He's confident. Oh my goodness! Until next Saturday at 11 a.m. As always, peace and God bless.